Hello everyone, this is my Saludos Amigos video. If you are new here, I am watching every Disney animated movie in chronological release order and ranking them on a tier list with my husband, while also providing some history at the beginning of the video because I am a Disney historian and I love to dive into the history of these movies and the context as to which these movies came out. And so today's is Saludos Amigos, and we will probably have a pretty short video today because Saludos Amigos is only a 40-minute movie, and I only have about a page of notes. And for reference, my other videos have probably garnered about 2 to 5 pages of notes. And so with that, it'll probably be a shorter video, as well as the fact of I couldn't really find any footage that was not gonna, I'm a little scared that some of this footage is gonna get me in trouble with YouTube, and I have before with copyright stuff, and so just say a prayer for me. And we will see. Anyway, let's get on to the history of Saludos Amigos, which opened the international market to Latin America and exposed especially North America to these cultures, possibly for the first time. Saludos Amigos premiered on August 24th, 1942 in Rio de Janeiro. August 24th is my parents' anniversary, so shout out, Mom. I know you watch. With releases in February in Boston and then the entire United States. So it premiered in Rio de Janeiro first, and then it released and had a U.S. premiere in Boston, Massachusetts, and then released to the entire United States. And Saludos Amigos is an anthology film made up of 4 different segments set in different parts of Latin America. It features Donald and Goofy, as well as a new character named Jose Carioca. The film was a reported success, launching Donald into international stardom and leading to the next film on the list, on my chronological order list, The Three Caballeros. In early 1941, the United States Department of State commissioned Disney to do a tour of South America. This was intended to lead to a movie as a sign of goodwill as part of the Good Neighbor policy. As Latin America had close ties with Germany at the time, the American government thought it would be good to get in good graces with the Latin American government. The coordinator of Inter-American Affairs. Government titles are tough, and I don't get them. Well, he took Walt and 20 other people who were artists, composers, technicians, and more. So just 20 other people who had some part of the company. One of them was Mary Blair, who, if you don't know who Mary Blair is, she's probably my favorite storyboard artist. And in fact, she has kind of an entire segment in her art style in Three Caballeros. But she is fantastic, and I love looking at her concept art. She has this childish, cartoony style. And the Small World dolls are based, and all of Small World actually, is based on her art style. And I love Mary Blair. This film was given federal loans because at the time of the trip, the studio was struggling with costs of movies and not recouping those costs due to World War II overseas. So because of World War II, and I've mentioned this in every single video, but the overseas market was cut off. And so this, like I said, was in early 1941. And at that time, we had Pinocchio and Fantasia had released, and due to the international markets being cut off, they weren't really able to recoup a lot of costs from those productions. as far as I know, it got a little bit better as things went on, but it was still a little bit of a struggle. The segment Pedro, which is the short that's the Pedro, was released as its own short in 1955. And the Chilean cartoonist, I am going to butcher this name, but I am going to try my best. René Rios Boteger was disappointed with how Pedro represented Chile. Due to this, he created Condorito, who became the most popular comic magazine character in Latin America. I desperately apologize for my pronunciations. I grew up in Southern California. I should know how to pronounce these things. But I took French in high school like an idiot. The scene where Goofy smokes in the segment El Gaucho Goofy has been actually edited for certain releases, and then in other editions it has not been edited. When it was initially released on Disney Plus, it was edited, but met with backlash, leading to the clip to be added to Disney Plus. Which is really, a lot of the Disney movies have this contains tobacco depictions thing, and I don't get that, but that's neither here nor there. Whatever. And Aquera do Brasil, I think I actually pronounced that one right, was a song that had already been released in 1939, but this film skyrocketed the popularity of the song, becoming the first Brazilian hit on American radio, which I think is very interesting. And I think it says a lot about the power of Disney and a lot about the power that these movies had at the time. And I'm just very influential. I think that's really cool that a song from this movie was the first Brazilian hit on American radio. And it grossed $20.5 million by 1951 in the US and Canada when adjusted for inflation to 2025's money. And this movie has oddly been packaged with other movies and was only a standalone as a Laserdisc, a VHS, and DVD. It has been featured with the Three Caballeros in their own collections on Blu-rays and certain DVD anniversary editions, and then it has also featured as a bonus on the documentary Walt and El Grupo. It has an 82% on Rotten Tomatoes, but the audience score is questionable. I don't know, it's a whole thing, but it has an 82% on Rotten Tomatoes. It got nominated for Best Scoring of a Musical Picture, Best Original Song for Saludos Amigos, and Best Sound Recording at the Academy Awards that year. This is all I have for my history segment. There's not a lot, and you know what that means? I can get this video out quicker to y'all because I'm a full-time student right now, and so school has been a little bit difficult right now because school started last week, and so it's just been a little bit trying to do this and to do that and to get stuff out and to still stay up on my studies. So I hope you enjoy my husband and I's thoughts on this movie, and at the end I am going to try to post a picture of what we have going on with the tier list currently. So we just finished Saludos Amigos, and our thoughts are we really, really liked it. I think that it was very interesting in the way that it tied documentary in a way and a way of introducing a new culture with these animated segments. I thought it was really interesting, and I thought that there was some passion in it. Even though it is only 40 minutes long, I think that this, along with something like Fantasia, can create a really well-rounded, intelligent child. If you want to introduce your child to different things early on in their life, I think this is a good way to introduce different world cultures to them.
I think Saludos Amigos does a bit better in terms of engagement, if that makes sense. There's a lot of Fantasia, with no disrespect to it, there's a lot of it that's used as downtime of sorts. I mean, there's that large portion of the intermission that we actually skipped every single time we've watched it, because it's just them getting off the stage and then getting back on the stage. Like, that doesn't help your case, Fantasia. I love you, but please do not bore me to death. I feel like Saludos Amigos does the opposite. It does a lot with its downtime. It's doing, it's showing the parts with the animators in the countries they're visiting and being like, hey, look, here's a little bit of what they learned. And look, you can even see inspiration and hints for the next short we're going to show you of where things were inspired from, such as Old Papagayo for Brazil, or for, the different cultures of the native people there in the case of Bolivia, and so on and so forth, of just different spots and places where it was like, here's something the animators noticed. And so that's kind of a hint of what we're going to show you in the next short.
And I think something interesting is that Jose comes out of the national bird of Brazil. And in fact, you have some experience with Brazilian people, and you said that the bird was, like the national mascot or something?
I mainly know that because one of my coworkers, he's married to a Brazilian, and so he talks about it. But I lived in Florida for a long time, and so I got to meet a lot of Brazilians and learn a lot about their culture. But yeah, the Old Papagayo is kind of like I guess the best comparison to us would kind of be like Davy Crockett, but imagine, not Davy Crockett, Paul Bunyan. That's Paul right. Bunyan, that's the one I meant to say. Picture like if instead of like Paul Bunyan was this kind of like sort of frontierish story, but then like take that, but like Americans became obsessed with Paul Bunyan. That's kind of what it is for Brazil, from what I understand. Of course, I'm not a Brazilian expert, but that's kind of what I've seen, because it's like they have their own news channel that is just a guy who dresses up as Old Papagayo and just tells the news.
Oh, I thought you were going to say it's like the fish from SpongeBob, but it's the bird.
I guess that's kind of a comparison there, but yeah, they just really, really love it. So that's kind of the best way I could describe it from what I understand. So
we thought it was such a fun time and just such a fun way to learn about different cultures, because I feel like even modernly in America, we lump a lot of South American cultures together. And so this was such a way to and it did not introduce all of the cultures, but just to introduce some of the cultures and their differences. And do you want to explain the piece of lore that we got?
I guess I don't know if Emma wants to show them on the screen, but we got two lore from the Goofy one. Lore that has changed my mind of Goofy. One, that he canonically smokes. Though I guess that's not too unusual for most of the early depictions of Disney characters.
We get Walt smoking in this.
Yeah, that's
There's
true.
a few shots of Walt actually smoking, which we do not see a lot of anymore, because a lot of pictures and a lot of footage where Walt was smoking has been, the cigarette has been digitally altered.
Yeah. The other thing, though, is we get to see his nasty feet. Goofy has nasty feet. It's gross. They give you a zoom up and everything.
Dude, let's just say that Goofy's legs are skin colored, and that's nasty. It's nasty. I might censor it.
Go to a doctor for that. That's bad. It's that bad.
I might censor it because it's so nasty. Anyway, but we personally just, it's such a cute little wrapped up 40-minute boat, and the last segment was definitely my favorite, with the little paintbrush painting around and everything. I just thought that was so creative, and Jose, and the song was gorgeous. I can't understand a word. I don't speak Portuguese, but it was beautiful.
Yeah. I mean, I only know kind of bits of Spanish, which I know doesn't really apply to Portuguese at all. I mean, I've been told someone explained it to me once in Florida that Portuguese kind of sounds like drunk Spanish. So like I could kind of understand the roots of some of the words, but if we didn't have captions on, I wouldn't know what they were saying or referencing. So.
I think that we should tell our Brazilian friend, about this in case she hasn't watched it before, because I think she might enjoy it.
She might get a lot out of it. She might like it.
Yeah. Anyway, so that's our thoughts. So we're going to put it, like, I'd say a little bit, like, just a tiny bit before Fantasia in B tier. Just because it doesn't drag in its segments the way sometimes Fantasia does. I love Fantasia. I am a Fantasia defender. I do believe that it is good. However, like I said, classical music can be a wee bit longer. And like you said, it has some little down moments where it kind of feels like the roller coaster goes up and then it falls down too much.
Well, to me, it feels not so much like it's going down too much. It's like you go up the roller coaster and you're going down, you're like, whoa! And then it like levels out for like a minute and a half. And so you're like, are we still on? And then it goes right back up and you're like, whoa! And then it levels back out again. That's kind of how Fantasia feels at time. It's really good, but it's an early movie, and it's kind of obvious because there's a lot of downtime. It's kind of akin. What was the other movie we were saying? Was this? No, it was Pinocchio. It's
Pinocchio that had that weird scene
that has like a noticeable down moment where there's just nothing going on. I feel like Fantasia suffers from it probably a lot more than Pinocchio, but I know those aren't really relevant to Saludos Amigos. We're praising Saludos by saying that it doesn't do that. And it pretty much takes a lot of the concepts that Fantasia started of music played to animation, especially the very last one, which I get why they played it last. It is the best one, in my opinion, by far. By putting it last, by having that, music fits the animation, but by having it be more energetic, have things going on, utilizing its downtime to share more about the cultures it's talking about and stuff. So
yeah, and I genuinely think that, and I will fact check myself about this, but I think that at this point Walt Disney was kind of in his documentary era and he was making nature documentaries, and I wouldn't be surprised if he went to go to South America for a nature documentary and fell in love with the culture there and decided to make Saludos Amigos.
Yeah, I mean, you could definitely see it there. I also could just see it as like, just for funsies to learn about another culture. I mean, you hear of it sometimes today where they'll like send an animator off to a foreign country to let them be inspired and receive that type of inspiration for their animation. And I wouldn't be surprised if it's the exact same deal was the story behind it. I mean, they pretty much almost explicitly say that of, hey, we're sending all these animators all the way out to South America. Saludos, amigos, or whatever. And you can kind of see that in the way that the film is depicted and the way that they drew all of these. Because, like, we made the joke about it all last time on a more serious matter, but this time it is a bunch of white guys depicting South American culture. But I feel like it's kind of different in this case because they were trying to do it in a way to like express and show off the different South American cultures and what they learned and what they thought was fun.
And I think it is coming from a place of love. I think it is genuinely coming from a place of love and enjoyment. Like all of the clips, they look so happy to be there. And they look so, I don't know. I just think it's an interesting production. And yeah, so I think low B nestled between, Pinocchio and Fantasia is where we want it to go.
Me personally, you can disagree if you'd like. I think I put it above Pinocchio.
That is a hot take.
That's me personally.
But I might agree with you because this one doesn't drag.
Yeah, I was like, I don't know if it's enough to beat B tier. I don't know if it's enough to beat B tier.
But the goofy feet.
Yes, that's true. That's true. It does have the really gross goofy feet. But that being said, there's still all the other praise we had for it that I don't feel like I could say as much just great praise for Pinocchio,
I think that Pinocchio is very great, and I love Pinocchio. I don't know. It is Pinocchio, and I think that it holds a place in other people's hearts that doesn't for us.
Yeah, I mean, it's more serious, but I kind of said before, I'm not too much of a serious person. I either like my narratives to, like, overly take themselves seriously, or I'm okay with them not taking themselves seriously at all. And I think Saludos Amigos fits a lot more into the latter than Pinocchio fits into the former. But that's me personally, of course. If you disagree, that's fine.
I fully agree. I think that Pinocchio kind of teeters the line, and I think in a way where it at times doesn't work. And so I agree. And I think that this one is just pure, clean fun. I think what helps is that it's 40 minutes, so it doesn't have time to drag. It doesn't really have time to drag at all.
Yeah, pretty much. It uses its time, and it uses its time well. So,
yeah, I think that's all I have to say about it. And I am excited for the Three Caballeros and to continue the story.
Yeah, I mean, I don't actually know the history. That's what you're going to look up. But the fact that we are going to watch the Three Caballeros implies to me that this one was so popular, and at least the character of Jose was so popular, that they decided to make the second part.
At least with the animators.
Yeah, or at least
because
the animators
it looked like they... Look, listen, if I animated that segment, I think I'd be having fun. That's all I gotta say. I think that if you want to watch Saludos Amigos, just watch that last part with Jose and Donald. Like, that song is absolutely incredible. And the thing is, you could say, you look at it and you're like, oh, there's some live action segments. Like, why did you put it on the animated? It's mostly animated.
Yeah, I was like, I feel like this is different from the Reluctant Dragon, where the Reluctant Dragon feels like a live action one that has an animated segment at the end. This feels more like a set of animations that they're tying together with live action segments. Kind of like more like Fantasia than the Reluctant Dragon is kind of what I'm saying. Like, you know, if you're objecting to Fantasia, which has a lot more, you know, parts where you have the narrator sharing about it, or you have the conductor on the stage, or you have when Mickey Mouse comes in and talks to him, etc.
Mr. Sikowski.
That kind of stuff. I understand if you feel that disqualifies it. We don't, because you're not, at least me personally, I don't feel like you're going to Fantasia to see the intermission and watch them all get off the stage and get back on, right? But in the same sense, I could understand someone wanting to come to Saludos Amigos, wanting to see the documentary portion of it. And wanting to kind of be involved a little bit into that more live action part.
And I think that it is great, and I love the live action portion. I think it adds to the color of what's going on. You can see, I love the beginning when you can see the inspiration behind the drawings. I think that's one of my favorite parts. Is you see the active... I think one of my favorite parts is they talk about the alpacas being pompous and then they give them, like, little glasses and, like, the monocle. I think that's really funny. I, like, giggled at that part. Yep. And I think that Saludos Amigos is interesting in the fact that it is... Like, I wouldn't categorize it live action as the same way that I chose to keep Mary Poppins and Bedknobs and Broomsticks off this list, where it is a predominantly live-action film with a few scenes, significant scenes, but a few scenes where they go into an animation world, but for a primarily reason, it is live-action. And the other thing is, the reason that I'm also doing the Three Caballeros, despite that, is I know that there's live-action in the Three Caballeros, but because the main characters are animated, I don't feel that it applies the same way that it does with Mary Poppins and Bedknobs and Broomsticks. Those characters the main characters are live action. So that's my argument for anybody who wants to argue in the comments over whether something is animated or not, and argue whether the Wikipedia says it's animated or not. The Wikipedia does. I don't. You lose. Good day, sir. Anyway, I don't really have anything else to say other than it's just a good movie that I think that if you want to introduce another culture to like your kid or something, or if you just want to see kind of like maybe learn a little bit more. I learned a little bit about like these historical things. And so I think it was just interesting. Or if you're a world history teacher or like a Spanish teacher and you want to, show your students this on like a fun day, something like that, you don't want to teach, which is valid. I'm studying to be a teacher. I get it. Then you can pull this up and it's just a fun time. Do you have anything to say?
No, I got nothing else to say. So, just the fun little Disney history facts. So, that we get from watching it, learning about the time when they sent all their animators to South America. So, nothing else. It's good, clean fun. It's just the water.
Oh.
You can end it right now.
Do you want to say anything else? Like, Saludos Amigos, a fine phrasing to you.
Saludos Amigos. What was the rest? I forgot.
Thank you all for watching, and we hope you have a good rest of your day, rest of your week, rest of your month, or rest of your night.
You're not going to tell me what the rest of it is?
No.
Oh, but
no. You're going to have to look it up for yourself. But thank you for watching, and we hope you enjoyed this video, and we hope you enjoy the rest of your day or the rest of your night or afternoon. Thank you. Bye.